Friends, are you feeling like you're riding the roller coaster of life? There's ups and downs. Let's figure it out together.
Hey, I'm Lydia. I used to be an ordinary stay-at-home mom and wife. We had 2 kids, and for 3 years, everything was perfect until we got pregnant again. But this time with quadruplets. There was so much stress going from a family of 4 to a family of 8 overnight, so I created a system for renewing our relationships. This channel is dedicated to sharing that system, every single part of it. I love teaching how to connect, manage emotions, and turn it all into growing together times. You're going to find all that information right here.
Okay, I was once at this seminar and it was so great and it was so fun. And the leader up on stage, she was talking about riding the roller coaster. And she said, let's ride that roller coaster together. And so she goes, woo, and we turn, we go down the hill, and we come up. It was really exciting and fun. Well, I'm sitting there going, that's not how you ride a roller coaster. That's not how life feels. Life feels like, woo! Hold on to that seatbelt. It's more like what it is, right? And so, are you one of those that we're ignoring the feeling to grab the seatbelt? We're ignoring the excitement to throw our arms up in the air? I'll tell you, I usually, on a real roller coaster, I don't throw my arms up in the air because I'm afraid of like losing a limb if I go under one of the other tracks. Anyway, it's fun though. You know it's expected, you know you got your seatbelt on, you know it's safe, and you can do it. You don't have to. Some people just enjoy sitting there. And it's calm, and that's great. But it is a ride, right? Life takes turns and twists, and sometimes we feel like we need to scream. So we don't want to scream at our friends or our loved ones, especially not our spouse. We don't want to take all of our excitement from the ride of life out on an innocent bystander. And I'll say innocent bystander because everyone is always just trying to do their best with what they have. Everyone is always trying to do their best with what they have. Maybe they don't have enough time or resources or knowledge to do it the way we think is better, but they are doing their best. So we got to give them that. And sometimes we got to check that seatbelt and make sure it's down all the way. I remember one time we had our kids and they were little, and it was the first time they were going to ride the rides at this amusement park near our home. And I said, you can't decide that you don't like any of them until you actually ride and experience it before you decide if it's too scary or not. So one of my sweet kids, he says, okay, Mom, how about that one? I went, that one? Oh man, I told him he had to ride everything before he decided it was too scary, but that was scary for me. And so I went on it with him. But I was concerned about putting his seatbelt down. It was one of those kinds that comes over your head because it goes upside down and you got to like make sure you're all the way in. It comes over your head and hooks down between your legs. Well, I was concerned about getting him in his seatbelt, and I didn't take care of mine. So mine didn't go down all the way because I was turned instead of sitting in the seat correctly when they locked it. So I had like some wiggle room. Oh my gosh, that was scarier than scarier. Make sure your seatbelt's on right. Create the safety. He loves that ride. Every time we go, he has to ride that ride. And all the other kids are like, nah, that's scary. I held on so tight. What are we doing in our marriages? Are we concerned about them and what they're doing and trying to get their seatbelt on right instead of taking care of us? Are we concerned about, your spouse is probably old enough and big enough and smart enough to make sure their seatbelt's on. If you're worried, you can just say, hey, is your seatbelt on? And they can take care of it. You got to sit in your seat the right way and pull it down all the way for you in the proper position so that you're not having a little bit of wiggle room, worrying that you're going to fall out when the life ride, the roller coaster of life gets going. you got to be strapped in good. And you can't worry about what your spouse is doing. You got to be independently united. You're both on the roller coaster together. You're both agreeing that this is going to be something you experience together. And you've both got to take care of your own seatbelt. And if you're worried about how they're doing, say, hey, is your seatbelt on? Is it pulled down tight? But you can't reach over, because then you get this gap in your own. You got to take care of you. Nobody else can do yours for you either. All right, so how do we do this? How do we do this? We got to take a moment of reflection of our own. And so that looks like just taking, it doesn't have to be very long. It just needs to be consistent. It can be 5 minutes. And 5 minutes, everybody's got 5 minutes. You don't have 5 minutes? Try 3 minutes of alone time for you, of mental clarity, just calm, sitting, listening. Hal, I forget his last name. I want to call him Ross or Rosen. Anyway, he's got the Miracle Mornings. And he says you start off with silence. It savors silence, affirmation, visualizing, exercise, and reading. But the most important part, I think, to save your day is that moment of alone, calm and quiet. And then you imagine getting through the roller coaster at the end of the day, and you're together and you take your own seatbelt off and oh, that was so great. And then you go on to the next ride. And you just take that moment, 3 minutes a day for yourself. And if you're struggling with this, set a timer. My favorite tool is a timer. When you actually use a timer, it gives you so much permission. It frees up all of the worry that you're going to be late, that you're forgetting something. It gives you permission to just be. It's kind of like turning off a piece of your brain when you're using a timer. You can use timers for taking turns to communicate if you keep interrupting each other, or if you're like, I really got to say something. I need 3 minutes of uninterrupted time. And then it's less of an attack if you use the timer, because it's set. It's like, I'm just going to take 3 minutes. I'm not going to take your entire day. Sometimes we get into these hairy kind of conversations and they're heavy and they're gross, and we resist that idea that we want to talk to each other because we think it's going to take so much time, it's going to be hurtful, we're going to have some judgment. If we just set a timer and make sure our seatbelt's on before we go in, it's like, okay, we're safe, you're safe, okay, good, let's go. Let's have this conversation. And set the timer. Is it, okay, I'm going to talk for 3 minutes and then you talk for 3 minutes. And, they do that in debates. Some presidential debates haven't always followed the rules of taking turns with the timer. But in a marriage relationship, you can just stop and say, we're using the timer because we respect and love each other, and we want to increase that love and respect for each other. And the timer provides the ability to grow respect. That sounds really funny, but it's true. If you use a timer and respect the time, if we respect each other's time, it reflects on each other that we respect one another, because there's an element of respect built in with the timer, that we're going to try and use the timer, we're going to respect time, and then that overflows into, well, that means I respect you and your time, and you respect me and my time. And it's all connected, and it layers on top of one of the other principles. It's so great. We got to use our voices appropriately. And this goes back to the roller coaster. We need to yell sometimes, but not at each other. Go on a roller coaster ride and yell. Go yell at a pillow. Go do something safe to help your spouse feel like there's a safe place for the emotions to live. If you use a timer and yell at appropriate places, we need to get those emotions out. We need to yell and express our emotions. That action of yelling doesn't always have to be in anger to get the emotion to move through. The emotions feel and look the same. The anxious butterflies are also excited butterflies. If you think about it physiologically, yeah, our bodies react the same to positive and negative emotions. Yelling in excitement or yelling in anger, our bodies feel the same way. So if you want to go out and yell or sing a great song, dance with it, go express some happy emotions in exchange for, like, trade it. And then since it's out, it'll have a harder time coming out in anger because you've already moved that. All right. Thanks for being here. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things, follow, and I'll see you next time.